kids make the choice at some point in their development to stop questioning what their parents say. And most kids ask why about everything. And at some point they stop. Because the parents give bad answers, because the parents are authoritarians, because the parents don't see the questioning as virtuous, and the kid gets discouraged and he stops. But most kids start out questioning. And it's not taken seriously by parents.
Yeah, that reminds me of that whole PragerU video a long time ago, where it's like, don't explain to your kids, just say no. I don't remember the specifics of it.
What?
Yeah, PragerU has some toxic videos.
Even normal psychologists know that you're supposed to explain things to your kids.
Oh yeah, PragerU has some of the most absolutely toxic videos that you can.
Yeah, that's
watch.
interesting. That's very bizarre.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you don't need to explain things to your kids, just say no and just discipline them. It's like, oh my gosh.
Is it a parody video? Is it like a?
No,
is it supposed to be ironic?
No, I don't think Dennis Prager does irony. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at that video that I was talking about, and we'll see how ironic it actually is. So without wasting your time, let's just get right into it.
When was the last time you heard a child referred to as
This kid is me, except for the last one.
obedient? It's probably been a while. That's too bad, because the best...
This dude just looks fucking creepy. And they start off with like, when's the last time you've heard of a child being heard of as obedient? This dude's so creepy though. Oh, we go from KJ, one of the most creepy objectivists, to this creepy ass dude on PragerU. What kind of guests are they inviting on there? Talking about kids being obedient. We need more obedience in society.
Best research tells us that obedient children are happy children. And from my experience as a family psychologist, the parents of obedient children are happy parents. Since all parents want their children to be happy, the question becomes, how does one...
What is the psychology? What are these studies that he's talking about? How happy a child is? How do they define happiness? By what standard? By the standard of their life? By the standard of their flourishing in life? What does this mean? What do they mean by happiness? They're taking so many things for granted, I'm sure, in these studies, and psychology as a field, but is very corrupt, and who knows how they're defining their terms such as happiness and obedience and all those sort of things. But here, let's get going. That's kind of a beginning critique.
Get a child to obey. Is there some trick to it?
Oh my god, this is the worst mentality possible. Like, this is the worst mentality that you can possibly imagine when raising a child. If you want to have, your mentality going into raising children should be, help this kid learn how to think, help this kid learn how to live a good life, not how to teach them how to obey. Why is obedience a value? Steve Jobs was not obedient to the mainstream culture. Bill Gates was not obedient. These are the people that stepped out. These are the people that wanted to make changes. Those are the great people in history. The people who think for themselves, who don't obey. The people who don't follow whatever's going on. This is how you get the kids in Nazi Germany that are just listen to Hitler as he rises to power. And God, this is the problem with society. People being too obedient. People not thinking enough for themselves. People not thinking independently enough. And I guess this is what PragerU wants, though. They want kids to not think for themselves. I mean, as KJ was saying in that video, like, these kids, go watch the full video if you want the whole context. I just showed a clip to kind of introduce this video, but like, kids begin to think independently. Kids begin asking why. We'll get more into that later in the video. He actually brings that up, but kids begin asking why. Kids begin by asking questions and thinking independently. I mean, that's how you form concepts at a young age too. You have to do it independently. Nobody puts concepts into your head. Nobody puts thoughts into your head. Nobody puts ideas into your head. Nobody's going to give you the right ideas. You need to discover them for yourself, and that's really important. You have your own mind. Every mind is an individual mind. But let's keep going.
Well, there certainly are a lot of parents who think so. They believe that proper discipline is a matter of using the right methods, techniques, and strategies, what I call consequence delivery systems.
See, now here's a false alternative as well. They're presenting these sort of behavioral-based psychology things that kind of deny free will and try to get these children to behave by whatever their standards are. Like this end goal of obedience and behavior is not the right goal for children. It should be to get them to think for themselves, help them understand the world, help them learn. That's the most important thing here. And this whole like consequence delivery system and the behavioral techniques, this is all like just that like Pavlovian like create a behavioral response to things. I keep saying like Diego's probably getting very mad at me right now if he's watching this, but yeah, it's just this behavioral model where it's like no free will. They don't completely ignore free will. They're just like, we need to get this kid to behave, get this kid to follow certain commands, get certain behaviors out of this kid by whatever means necessary. And it's just, yeah, this is what those techniques are. They completely deny free will. And this dude is going to be the exact same way. I mean, psychology, he's going to deny free will in a different sort of way, though. I mean, they're all the same, basically. He's just going to teach, yeah, we'll get into what he does.
Parents have been using these behavior modification-based methods since they became popular in the 1960s, seemingly to no avail. Would anyone argue that today's kids are more obedient than kids were several generations ago?
I mean, people today are not free thinkers. People today don't think for themselves. Just look at this response to Corona. Look at this response to a lot of different things. Like kids respond exactly how the media tells them to, exactly how their parents tell them to. The whole idea that kids are so disobedient and so rebellious is simply not true. Kids learn the ideas that their parents tell them now. They're taught from a very young age, don't think independently. Do what people tell you to do. Think how people tell you to think. And whether it's from their parents or from the media, from other people, like these people are not thinking for themselves. Just think about like how extremism, for one thing, is just denigrated by society, because extremism is just people thinking for themselves more, and people just need to fit in this sort of centrist little box. And I guess one thing that has been very apparent to me lately with the whole coronavirus thing going on is I'll just be posting stats on my story, or I'll post like a different argument on my story against like shutting down businesses and stuff and the overreaction to coronavirus, and then people just get so mad. They send so many long rants, and it's just pure, this is exactly what you're being fed right now. People just constantly listen to what they're being fed. Think back to net neutrality too. This was another big thing that a lot of kids were like very, very, very concerned about. And then these people, like, they just argue and argue and argue without understanding the situation, just because all their favorite YouTube content creators or all the media was telling them how bad it is, without actually understanding the issue is. Some people would say like, wait, what was the thing? They'd misunderstand what net neutrality even is. They're like, oh yeah, net neutrality is so bad. And then I'd be like, yeah, I agree. But then they're actually like, don't know that net neutrality is what Ajit Pai was getting rid of. So they'd like hate Ajit Pai, but then they'd also condemn net neutrality, because they don't actually know what's going on, and they'd be so passionate about it. So basically the moral here is people are obedient. People are not independent thinkers. That's what we need to raise in children. But kids from a very young age, whether it be through religion or whether it be through whatever techniques their parents use to get them to behave in a certain way, without explaining why, because parents are apparently too lazy to actually explain to their kids. Whatever they use, they don't teach their kids to be independent thinkers. And that's a big problem. Now, I feel like I was different. I feel like my parents very much encouraged me to be a very independent thinker, which was a good thing. But that's not the case for a lot of people. A lot of parents have that sort of mentality of, we need to get our kids to obey. And maybe they don't necessarily obey their parents. Maybe they want to rebel because as they get older, they feel oppressed by this, or they get influenced by something else. But from a very young age, the primary thing is they're being taught to listen to other people. They're being taught to be obedient to things and to not think for themselves, and that thinking for yourself is something that's going to be condemned. And that's a big problem. But let's keep going with this video.
I don't think so. The reason these methods and techniques don't work is that proper discipline is not a matter of proper methods. It's a matter of a proper attitude on the part of the parent. Let me illustrate the point. Let's say that for a week, I observed the classroom of a grade school teacher who has the reputation of being the best disciplinarian in her district. She consistently has fewer behavior problems than any of her colleagues. What is she doing?
It's still this is a bad standard for a teacher also. The standard of, oh, as a teacher you want to be the teacher who has the fewest behavior problems. No. What is the purpose of being a teacher? You want to teach the kids how to think. You want to teach the kids how to think for themselves. If the teacher only focuses on obedience, there's going to be a lot of problems because the teacher won't actually teach them how to think critically and think for themselves. But this is the structure of our current education system. It teaches perceptual based, just let the information come into your head, memorize it, hold it in your mind, spit it out in the exam, and then forget it. It never teaches you to conceptualize. It never teaches you logic. It never teaches you how to think, how to integrate, how to do any of these things. And that's, once again, this is a problem with how our education system is focused as well.
She's making her expectations perfectly clear, which means, first, she communicates in...
Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the keep making your expectations clear. That's one thing that I will probably agree with. I'm not going to condemn this part, but the issue is not that part of the video. There's a sense in which that's just like a principle that you should apply as like a parent. You should apply, you want to have sort of objective expectations. You want to be clear in what you expect. That's very important. Because if you aren't clear in what you expect, your kid won't know what to do. It's just completely whimsical, and they get this sort of sense that the universe is whimsical. If whatever they do, they're going to get punished, even because they don't know what they're supposed to do. And that's also really damaging. Because I mean, think about how in authoritarian countries, think about how law is enforced. Law is enforced very whimsically. The problem is not that the laws are too strict necessarily. Now that is a problem, of course, but another problem is how whimsically the laws are enforced. People don't know how to necessarily act in the face of these laws. So we need objective laws rather than whimsical laws. And it's the same sort of thing when you're raising a child. It would be you want to have objective expectations. You want them to know what they're supposed to follow, know what specifically they're supposed to follow, and that's a good thing as well.
Simple declarative sentences. She doesn't use 50 words when she could use 10.
See, that's good as well. You want to, if like with a kid, of course, you want to not explain like too complex of a thing. Like these kids, they don't have the concepts formed yet to necessarily understand all the 50 words and the super deep, long explanation. However, there's a sense in which you do want to still explain things. You obviously want to still explain things so that you teach them how to think. But we'll get into that because he's gonna. This is the point where it gets bad, I think, after this, because this is fine. You want to have clear, concise explanations so that these kids actually know what they're supposed to do. The 50 words instead of 10 just makes it confusing, and the kid won't know how to act.
The more words you use to communicate your expectations, the less confident you sound. Second,
that's not necessarily the primary, though. The goal should not be to be like, I want to sound confident and intimidate my children. I want them to bend to my will, so I'm going to say 10 words. No, you want them to actually understand what you're saying. The key here would be, I want you to understand what the point is I'm trying to make. So you use less words so that they actually know in their mind what's going on. You want to develop their minds. You don't want to intimidate them. You don't want to have this authoritarian tendency. Because it sort of shows that you don't know how to explain yourself. I mean, these parents who take this advice and are like, I need to intimidate my kid and make sure they listen to me. These are the parents who don't know how to explain themselves. These are the parents who will not be able to actually explain themselves. Although, yeah, it just shows a lack of confidence in explaining your ideas and explaining what you want to do. But let's keep going.
She prefaces her instructions to her students with authoritative phrases like, I want you to, and it's time for you to. She says, it's time for you to take out your math books and turn to page 25, as opposed to, let's take out our math books and turn to page 25, okay?
This dude is so creepy. Keep him off the screen, please. But whatever. Yeah, I don't have much of a problem with that. I don't have much to say on that suggestion. I think, yeah, I mean, it's probably good to sort of say like, yes, do this. This is what I want you to do, rather than this sort of, oh, I feel like you should do this. I mean, this is actually something that you can do with like communication. When you want to communicate something and communicate more clearly, if you want to sound confident in communication, you want to not say like, oh, I feel like this might be true, or oh, it seems that this might be true. I actually say it seems that a lot in my communication, which is definitely a problem. But one generally should use confident phrases. They should use they should say things confidently. They should, rather than saying, I think you should say things confidently. Notice I'm saying you should say things confidently, because that's how you actually communicate confidently. And I said the word confidently like 20 times in that last little bit, but it's all good. It's all good. I repeat myself a lot because I don't know how to communicate in any other terms. I have a low vocabulary. My IQ is fucking room temperature. I don't have an IQ above. My IQ is like 60, guys. Come on. We know this.
Third, this teacher does not explain the motives behind her instructions to her students.
This is my problem. This is my problem with this video. Right here. We're 2 minutes and 23 minutes into the video, 15 minutes into my video. This was why I wanted to do this video. This is a problem. You need to explain your motives behind your instruction. You need to explain why to your students or to your children. That's so important if you want them to think critically, if you want them to examine the world and try to understand why they do things. You should never take a certain action without understanding why you're doing it. That is a very, very important principle that you need to keep in mind. And this is how you kill free thinkers. This is how you kill free thought, if you're not explaining your motives, because then you teach them to behave in ways that they don't understand, but they have to have an explanation for everything. So they say, okay, my explanation will be because the teacher says so, because an authoritarian figure says so, then it must be good for me, just because an authoritarian figure said so. And that's a problem. That's clearly a problem. Because you want to be able to understand why you're doing certain things. Your actions need to be based on reason. Your actions need to be based on your thought processes. Your actions need to be based on reality primarily, and your interaction with reality. You need to understand why you're doing things. You need to use reason to survive. That is our means of survival. If you want to live a happy life, if you want to actually live, you need to understand your reasons for doing things. You need to have good reasons for doing things as well. So let's keep going though.
Students. Why? Because she knows that explanations invite arguments. Whenever parents tell...
See, now this is another problem. Are you afraid of are you afraid of arguments? Let's keep going though. I'll make a rant after a little bit later.
Tell me they're dealing with an argumentative child. I know that these well-intentioned people are explaining themselves. They tell their child why they want him to pick up his toys, for example.
Wait, hold up. Let's actually go back.
Child, I know that these well-intentioned people are explaining.
Do you not want an argumentative child? An argumentative child is not a negative thing. This is actually important here. It's not a bad thing to argue, to question things, to try to understand the reasons for things. Now, whimsical arguing, now that can be a problem. Just if it's like, oh, I'm just going to argue just because I don't feel like it. But you should teach your child to question things. You should teach them how to argue things. And if you're a parent, if you're more intelligent than your child, which you should be if you're the parent, if your child's like 5 years old, you should be able to win an argument against your child. It should not be a hard thing to do. Now, yeah, so an argumentative child's not a bad thing. This is something that KJ was talking about once again, because it's viewed as a negative thing when a child is questioning instructions, when a child argues about things. He wants to know why he's doing what he's doing. And maybe he won't fully grasp your explanation. Maybe he won't fully grasp why you're right in your argument, but he will understand that there's a reason why he's doing that certain thing still. He will still understand that fact. Now, there's a point where if you need him to do a certain thing very badly, if it's like a sort of necessary thing and he just keeps arguing whimsically, there's a point where you actually need to just say, no, you're going to do this. You have to force him to do it. Because you don't want him to fucking like die or have some massive problem in the future. But there's also occasions where you need to say like, okay, he's just going to keep arguing this, then let him do what he's going to do. Let him see the consequences of this thing. Not necessarily always. If the consequences are too bad, you need to force him to do it. But arguing children as such is not a negative thing. It's not a bad thing, because it shows that they're trying to think for themselves. They're trying to grasp your reasoning behind why you're having them do something. And that's important here. That's really important here. You want a child that can think for themselves, understand their reasons for doing things. And yeah, it's so important.
Themselves. They tell their child why they want him to pick up his toys, for example, And he argues, because you can always pick apart an explanation. If you don't,
Good. Of course, you want the kid to think critically. You want the kid to think critically. You don't want your kid to just accept an explanation because it was given to him by an authority. That's what happens to like the Hitler Youth. When Hitler rose to power, then the kids were like, oh my God, an authoritarian figure, a strong figure. He's just gonna use his will and tell me what to do. And then he's the authority. Why should I question him? And when you sort of push that on your kids, and that you can't explain things, that you can't explain the reasons for doing things, and that the kid can't understand why he's doing the certain things that he's doing, this is what you get in the future. You get kids who can't think independently, and that's a major problem.
don't explain yourself when you give an instruction to a child, then the child, being a child, is almost surely going to ask for one. He's going to ask, why? Or
This is good. This is such a good thing. A child asking why is a sign that he can still think critically. It's a sign that he can still think independently. And that's important. It's so important to try to cultivate that in children and to never let that go. That's one sense in which we want to hold on to like our childhood wonder. We want to hold on to our childhood wonder at the world, our desire for knowledge, our desire for explanations. Because as we get older, that's crushed in us. That's destroyed in us by parents who are authoritative and they don't want to give explanations, and they don't know how to give explanations. They just want to boss their child around it. They don't have any desire in cultivating intelligence in their children. They just are and cultivating independence in their children. They just want to cultivate a child who can obey, a child who can listen to commands. And this is such a major problem in how we treat children today. Because this is not how we get independent free thinkers. This is how we get a bunch of sheep who will just do what they're told for the rest of their lives and will never actually achieve anything in their lives. They'll never actually achieve happiness, because happiness requires independent thought. Happiness requires you to look at reality for yourself and do what you want to do. Do what basically what you independently judge is the best thing for yourself, rather than be a Roark here. Be a Roark who sees that, or a Roark who sees that this is the way that architecture should be. This is the way that I independently judge it to be, rather than a Keating who sees, oh, I want to do art, but this authoritative figure, my mother, is telling me, no, you got to do architecture instead. You got to do architecture. And then for the rest of your life, you see architecture as this thing that, oh, just listen to what Toohey tells you it is, or listen to what Franken tells you it is. Like, this is a problem. This is obviously a problem. You need to think independently. You need to look at reality and judge it for yourself. And that's what we should be teaching children. We should not be teaching them how to listen to commands. They're doing that well enough today, listening to whatever the fuck they're told. It's terrible. Everyone's a sheep. All these NPC sheep. Oh my God. But let's keep going with the video.
or why not? At which point, get ready for a big surprise. Your answer should be, because I said so.
If that is your explanation, you are cultivating a child who will never think independently in his life. You are cultivating a child who will never achieve any independent thought, and because of that will never achieve anything in his life. If that is the reasoning behind why a child should do something, that will become automatized in his head. If his reason for action is because I said so, because an authority said so, he will, in his subconscious, he will automatize that reasoning, and over time it'll be tough to break that. That'll become his sense of life. That'll become his psychoepistemology. His reasoning behind taking actions will come from because I said so, because an authority told me to, and that can transform into because society told me to, because society becomes the sort of authority over time, depending on how you tend to think about things, or because God said so, because blank said so, with no other explanation, is the worst psychoepistemology you can possibly come up with. It is destructive to your independent judgment, and it makes you into a second-hander forever. It's terrible. But anyways, let's keep going. This video is terrible. This is not how you should teach kids. Oh my God.
These very useful 4 words, and no, they will not cause psychological damage to your kids. Quite
Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on this. Just because you say something confidently doesn't mean that it's actually true. Just because you say something as confidently as you want to, just because you say, no, it's not going to cause psychological damage to your kids, just because you say something super confidently doesn't make it true. This is the problem I have with so many people on the internet. So many people say, oh, this is not actually true. This is not true at all, or this is true, and they'll just say something really confidently as if it's necessarily true, and if you're crazy for not agreeing with them. But it's not actually the case. They can't provide any rational argument for it. Why should I listen to your argument that it's not going to cause psychological damage to your kids? Well, we got the argument for his reasoning right above it. Because I said so. That's his whole argument for this. You know that's the case. I know there's psychological study after psychological study. I mean, according to KJ, there's psychological studies saying this is not the right way to raise kids, and I mean, this is sort of an appeal to authority here, but which is kind of a problem. But I do trust that because there's rational arguments for it, and I've provided those rational arguments throughout the rest of this video. Maybe it's not going to make them fucking brain damaged. Maybe it's not going to literally cause dead brain cells in the kids. But it's going to make them into a child who cannot think independently. It's going to corrupt their psychoepistemology and transform them into a second-hander.
The contrary are a simple but powerful affirmation of the legitimacy of your authority. Say it calmly. Don't scream it. Nothing good is ever accomplished by a person who screams. Last but certainly not least, when giving instructions to a child, do not, let me repeat, do not bend down to the child's level. Getting a child to...
Oh my God, this dude, this is so creepy. He's just like, oh my God, I can't imagine this dude being my fucking dad. Oh my God. Like I'm gonna intimidate my child. I am the authority. I am the authority. I do not bend down at my child. I look down upon him. Oh my God. I am the authority now. Like, holy shit, this is so toxic. This is so damaging. But let's keep going.
Do what he or she is told is a matter of looking and acting and talking like you have complete confidence in your authority. Bending.
But you don't. That's the thing. You don't have confidence in your authority because you can't explain your reasoning behind it. You have this doubt in your mind as a parent. If this is what you need to do, you have a doubt in your mind. You have credible doubt, as I talk about in a lot of my religion videos, because this is completely arbitrary. You're using arbitrary commands, and that's what you're teaching your child to listen to, arbitrary commands. And you're putting up this facade of confidence to make your child to look down at your child as if he's weak and must bend to your whims, must bend to your authority. Is that how you want to teach your child? Is that how you want to raise your child? Is that what you want your child to grow up learning? When I have kids, that's not what I desire at all whatsoever. But hey, let's keep the video playing.
Bending down to a child's level does not look authoritative. It looks, in fact, like you're one movement away from being down on your knees in front of a king. I know. You've read somewhere that you should get down to a child's level when you talk to him.
I don't know about this specific technique itself. I feel like there might be a problem with it because you do want to appear confident when you're saying the certain things. You want to appear confident that your reasoning is sound. You don't want to this is a similar thing to what I was talking about earlier with the writing. Like, you don't want to say, oh, I feel that this might be true, or I feel that you should listen to me. Like, you don't want to sound like that. You want to appear confident. You want confidence behind the things you're saying, so that you want confidence behind the things you're saying, because so that the child understands it. No, this is a good reason, that this is something that's well thought out. But there still needs to be a reason. There still needs to be the child needs to understand that there's some reason to do this certain thing. I don't know if this getting down to their level thing is a good thing or bad thing. I'm not sure. I don't know like the studies on it or anything like that. Post in the comments if you're a psychologist and want to tell me what the studies are on this specific thing. I'll read through every single study, and I'll make sure to fully refund you for all the expenses that you embark on in picking the study out. But whatever, all jokes aside, as Leafy would say after saying something like that, let's get back to the video.
Well, All I can tell you is that there's a lot of really bad parenting advice out there, and that's but one example. Speak to children from an upright position. That causes them to look up to you, and that is a good thing for them and for you both.
Look up at me, my viewers.
I'm John Rosemond, author and family psychologist.
Viewers, you must look up at me. Now listen to what I'm saying. Objectivism is true. Ayn Rand is true. And do you want to know why? Because I said so. There you go. Now all of you are objectivists. Now I just created a brand new movement of objectivists. Now also, make sure you go. I gotta stand up again. Make sure you go and read. Go read Atlas Shrugged. Go read Atlas Shrugged right now. Right now. Listen to me. I am the authority. I'm standing up. I'm upright. My shoulders are back, and I am the authority now. Listen to me. Go read this book. Go read Atlas Shrugged right now. Also, look at this dude's hairline, though. Shit. He got the 3-point line. Steph Curry, A. Whatever. Sorry, I had to get in the roast there at the end.
For Prager University.
That was so cringe. I'm sorry. I love how he said his... Wait, listen to this shit.
Family psychologist for Prager University.
He says it like it's so prestigious, like, "Ah, yes, I have just completed a video for Prager University." And that is authoritative. Listen to my commands. I have completed a video for Dennis Prager of Prager University, the most prestigious university in America.
To keep our videos free.
Oh, Prager's voice. I'm erect right now. I'm fully erect right now. Good thing when I stood up, my camera didn't show it. But yeah, the second I hear Prager, oh man, wow. This man is so attractive. Such a beautiful man.
Click here.
Oh, let's donate. Yo, they're not getting money from YouTube anymore, man. This YouTube is censoring PragerU, guys. Holy shit. Oh man. What a great video, guys. Oh, that was incredible. Wow, such a beautiful video, and I hope you guys enjoyed understanding how to dominate your children with me, and how to destroy independent thought, which is so beautiful. This is what we're trying to do with PragerU. We're trying to destroy independent thinking. Also, this is why I'm not a fucking conservative. I hate conservatives so much. Good lord. Conservatives are so... Yeah, it's terrible. Honestly, if I had to choose between the left and right, there's times where I would choose the left. Because at least as our country's collapsing, I'll be able to smoke weed to numb my mind to all of it. Yes, let's do that, baby. Oh man, but whatever. See, this is why I can't be a conservative though. Like, these conservatives are terrible. They're just as bad philosophically. Like, they have the facade of, oh, we're gonna free up the economy. Of course, not for Silicon Valley. We're gonna free up the economy. And yeah, whatever. They're philosophically bankrupt. Everybody's philosophically bankrupt. It's so disgusting. But yeah. Also, apparently now that I'm not uploading as much content, I gotta make up for that somehow. I'm not uploading daily, so I gotta make my videos twice as long. So there you go. You're getting the same content, except I'm not running out of ideas as fast. So yeah. I hope you all liked this video. Please go down, comment below, hit the like button. I think I'm almost at 300 subscribers right now. I think it was at 299 the last time I checked. So go hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, get those notifications, and make sure to watch all of my videos and get up that view count, baby. Yeah. We need all the views out here. We're starting a revolution, baby. We're starting a objectivist revolution. Yeah, free those minds. Hell yeah. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.